Hello everyone, back with another video. Today I'm going to show you how to fully disassemble a Nintendo 64 console. There's a few reasons you may want to do this. First, the inside may be really dusty and you want to clean it. And also, there could be something wrong with your Nintendo 64 and you want to try to fix it. So you'll need a few things. You're going to need 4.5 security bit to open up the console. Then, once you're inside, you'll need a Phillips screwdriver. Then, you'll need a smaller Phillips screwdriver head for a couple smaller screws. The first thing you want to do is remove the jumper pack or expansion pack located under this door. The expansion pack came with a little plastic tool that you could use to pry this out with. But you could also use like a spoon or a fork and just kind of pull up on it. Some people use flathead screwdrivers, and I don't like to use anything with like hard metal point so I don't scratch it or damage it. But you can set that to the side. You could also unscrew undo the screws on the bottom and just pull the two pieces together. Pull the two pieces that are together apart, and it'll also pull the expansion pack out. But I feel like that's a little more risky, as you could damage the port. So what you want to do first is remove the 6 screws on the bottom, located 3 on top and 3 on the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. What I like to do is flip it over and try to let the screws fall out. These 2 feet may come out on their own, or they might be stuck. Just set those to the side. You won't need them right now. Collect the screws that come out and set those to the side. There may still be a few lodged in there, and you might have to work those just a little more. Once you got them, they should come right out with just like the others. There's one being stubborn. Should come out when I pull these apart. Still in there just a little bit. There it goes. It was just kind of stuck or something. But yeah, this comes out. You can set that to the side. I've already took this apart before and cleaned it, so it's not very dirty. You have the heat sink. This is where the jumper pack, expansion pack goes. The controller ports and the cartridge slot. The screws on the back. There's 4 silver screws. You also want to make sure you don't mix these screws up. Okay, sorry about that. I had to grab a different screwdriver. It wasn't quite the right size. But there's 4 screws in the back. They're silver. These are all the same length. They can be interchangeable with each other, but you don't want to put them anywhere else. Then you have those 2 hold down where the power supply plugs into. These 2 hold down where the audio video AV out plug into. Okay, then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 screws that hold the motherboard in place. You want to remove these screws. The two that go where the cartridge slot is, they're longer than the rest. So you want to keep those separate too, and remember where they go. Now the other 6 are all the same size and they hold down the motherboard. So remove those. There's 2 where the heat sink are, where the 2 holes on the heat sink are. Remove those. There's one right here next to the LED. And there's one thing I want to show you real quick. This is for one of the screws on the bottom to go. So when you put it back together, make sure you only put, because you might be tempted to put a screw here too, but there's only a screw that goes right here. That one's empty, because when you put the security screws back through, that's where one of those go. And then this one. Okay, now to fully remove the motherboard, you have to do this screw, which are different. They're the only 2 screws that have this little metal washer in it, so you keep those to the side. Then you have to undo these 2 black screws. Then next to the jumper pack slot, there's 2 small Phillips screws. These are holding down the motherboard as well, which need to be removed. They're the only 2 screws like this, so it'll be easy to remember where they go back. And then you can remove this little metal shielding. Remember how this goes in, so you can put it back the right way. Should just be able to pull up on it. Just kind of give it a little wiggle. This little ledge here, this little lip, will fit over that expansion pack slot. So put that in a safe place. There's also a metal shield right here too, which might not be able to take it out. Oh, there we go. It just kind of sets the little lip set down into these 2 slots. So just remember that. Now you can just lift the board up. And before I remove this plastic, I want to show you a couple things. There's a little, these little metal brackets. They come out, so you don't want to lose these. So set those in a safe place. And there's a little plastic piece for the LED. It's what the LED light shines through to kind of distribute the light, so it's not so bright. But that is the bottom of the casing. Mine's a little dirty again, even though I've washed it before. But now's a good time if you haven't and you get this far. You can soak this in a tub of water, some warm soapy water, and give it a scrub. I won't show you how to do it in this video since I've done it before, but if I ever acquire another N64, I'll show you. Don't lose this piece that comes out. It's where the AV multi-out goes. Now we're down to the heat sink. There's 10 screws on the heat sink. These are all the same size. You just unscrew them all. Should be able to lift up the heat sink now. This piece, the heat sink goes underneath this piece right here. So you want to be mindful of that. I just leave those screws there so I don't lose them. Okay, this whole piece comes up. This is another metal shielding that goes around the expansion port. So together there's 3 pieces that come off of this. This shielding comes up. And this exposes the top of the motherboard. The bottom shielding comes off too. So set those in a safe place. Okay, that came off. Just be careful, don't pry too hard up on it. And this is the inside of the N64 motherboard. This is where you have your capacitors. I can see like where I missed some dust, like when I went to clean it before. But like, this is pretty much everything that makes your N64 work. One thing I want to show you is you can twist on these, and these little heat sinks come off, and there's thermal pads under it. When you go to put these back on, there are, these two look about alike, but there's little, like, I don't know if you can see them on the camera, if it can focus on it. There's 2 little like indentions right here. You kind of just want to match it up like how it came off. And this is the last one. And there's some little bit of dust under that one. And that's what I'm talking about. You can see that groove right here. You want to make sure if you're using the same thermal pads that you match this one up and put that groove back between those 2 chips. Just so like the chip will be covered with the heat pad and it will transfer the heat outward. But that's about everything. One more thing I want to show you. If you gently lift up on this, the cartridge slot comes out. So you could take this out and you could really look in there with a light and you could see if the pins look good on yours, if there's any corrosion. Here's the pins on the bottom, they go back in here. If you're doing this, you may want to pull this out and maybe like lightly clean these pins if there's any dust, because it could cause a connection problem. If there's any grime or dust, then you want to clean this. And then when you put it back on, it only goes on one way. If you look at the front, the back has no writing, the front has some numbers and an arrow, and there's an arrow right here. You just match the sides with the arrows up, and it just gently drops back into place, and you just kind of like that, and then you just push it down until it's seated in there. And you'll know it's in there because if you try to pull it back up, it won't come out so easy unless you just use a little bit of, you know, not too much force, but you have to pull up for it to come out. And then things you may want to do when you go to clean is use like a toothbrush with some isopropyl alcohol. Just put your little on the board and just kind of lightly go over it. Be careful not to damage these when you go around things. But you can see under that heat sink there's some like looks like a dead bug and some dust. So even though I took it apart the first time, I didn't take those heat sinks off. So they really need it. This needs another cleaning. You can also check these contacts. for any oxidation. And look in here, because if you have a controller that doesn't connect, it could be because your pins are oxidized. This over here is like some of your audio circuitry. This is like, I believe, for audio video. But quick story how I got this N64. I bought it from eBay. It was maybe $30 plus shipping, and it was listed as broken, not working. It had no expansion pack door and no jumper pack or expansion pack inside, so you could just see, you know, inside the unit. It just came like this, just open like that. It said not working, so I bought it. I put an expansion pack in it. It came on right away. So I cleaned this case down. It was pretty dirty. There's like a few like scratches on it, but that's okay. But you know, with just a little work, I saved it from it being tossed away. And you know, a lot of these consoles have memories attached to them. Like this was somebody's first Nintendo 64. Maybe their only one they ever had. Maybe they were a kid or a teenager, a young adult, and at some point in their life, you know, they got this, bought it from the store. Maybe they got it for Christmas or they got it for their birthday, and it, you know, they may have played on it and loved it for a long time, and then they moved on and they probably sold it to somewhere, that a pawn shop or a used game store at some point, and because they wanted something else. And you know, these are memories. So it's kind of like, if you like this kind of stuff, it's, you know, up to people to keep it in good shape and clean and all that, so that way it'll last a long time. And you know, this was somebody else's, and now it's my Nintendo 64 that I play games on. So I think that'll do it for this video, and I hope you liked it, and thanks for watching. And if you like it, you know, subscribe, like it, dislike it, comment. So until next time, thanks for watching.